Hi, good afternoon. My name is Robert Sumwalt, and I'm a board member with the National Transportation Safety Board. Investigators arrived here at Pier 11 at about 2:30 this afternoon to begin our investigation into the allision of passenger vessel Seastreak Wall Street with Pier 11. Now, who is the Ntsb and why are we here? We are an independent federal agency charged by Congress to investigate transportation accidents, to determine probable cause, and then to issue safety recommendations to prevent the reoccurrence of those accidents. Before I go any further, on behalf of the Ntsb, I'd like to express our concerns to those who have been affected by this accident. At about 8:40 this morning, the passenger vessel Seastreak Wall Street alighted with Pier 11 on its approach to landing here at Pier 11. This was the second trip of the day for both the vessel and the crew. We intend to interview the crew tomorrow to get their firsthand account of what they experienced. The ferry is registered to Seastreak. There were 326 passengers and 5 crew members on board. Preliminary reports that we've received from first responders indicate that there were several injuries, and the local authorities will be releasing that information if and when it becomes available in terms of the extent and the number of injuries. The Ntsb has responded with a go team of 11 team members from Washington, D.C. The investigator in charge is Morgan Terrell. Captain Terrell has over 25 years experience in the marine industry, and he's been with the Ntsb as an investigator for over 6 years. The Ntsb's team of investigators will be examining the following areas. We will have experts looking in the area of operations, and the operations group will be looking at conducting the crew interviews. They'll be looking at company management. We'll be looking at regulatory compliance of the vessel. We'll be looking at regulatory oversight of the vessel by the Coast Guard. And that group will also be looking at human performance, how the crew interacted, what was going on the bridge of that vessel. We'll have an engineering group that will be looking at the propulsion and steering systems of the vessel as well as the mechanical systems. We'll be looking at survival factors, which will be looking at the injuries and the efforts of the first responders. We'll have a recorder specialist on scene to be looking at any photographic evidence that we can gather surrounding this event. In addition to our investigators, we also have a representative from the Ntsb's Office of Transportation Disaster Assistance, and he will be here to assist those victims who were on board the ferry at the time of the accident. I want to emphasize that we're just getting here. Just getting here. Tomorrow will be our first full day of the investigation, and it will be a very full day. We plan to conduct the crew interviews. We plan to be looking at documenting the damage of both the vessel and the dock. We plan to be looking at the maintenance records, the crew records, the training records, anything like that. We want to be looking at. That's what we're going to be gathering. And I want to point out that our purpose for being here right now is to gather the perishable evidence, the information that can go away with the passage of time. We're just here to collect information right now. We're not here to conduct analysis. We're not here to speculate. We're not here to determine the probable cause. We're here to find out what happened so that we can prevent it from happening again. And that's why we are here. Throughout the next few days, our investigators will work on scene to thoroughly document the accident site and gather factual information. We expect that we will be on scene about 5 to 7 days. And again, that's the fact-finding phase. Once we leave here, we will be analyzing the information. Even though we've got 11 people here, we've got a full support staff back in Washington who is supporting us. Since we're just getting here and just in the very beginning, we don't have a great deal of factual information at this time, but we will be keeping you posted through press briefings as time progresses. As we go through the week, we will be holding periodic press briefings. And one final comment. I'd like to thank the valiant efforts of the first responders for the good work that they've done. We sincerely appreciate their hard work, and we certainly want to thank and particularly recognize the U.S. Coast Guard and all of the efforts of the city of New York. I'll be glad to try and answer your questions at this time.
The captain that's on the vessel that has been there since the beginning, have you talked to him already?
The question is, have we talked to the captain? We have not. We plan to conduct the interviews tomorrow.
There have been some tests that were done, alcohol and drug tests. Can you give us the results of that?
The question is, has there been drug and alcohol testing? Yes, in accordance with federal regulations, as per any transportation accident in this country, drug and alcohol testing has been done. The results of that will take time. It takes time to do that, but we will release it when we find out.
Do you know what the acceptable speed for a vessel to come into dock is? And do you know what this vessel was doing?
Do we know what an acceptable speed for a vessel coming into this pier would be? And do we know what this vessel speed was? And those are exactly the types of things that we are here to find out, is what speed should a pier be approached at in this particular area, and what was the speed of that vessel. That's exactly the types of things that we are here to look at.
The officials earlier said they were going 10 to 12 knots. Is that true? And how would they know that?
Well, you're saying that there's been reports of a certain speed report. We have not confirmed that. We're the investigative authority. There's a lot of hearsay, a lot of speculation. I've even read it on my BlackBerry. But we're going to find out for ourselves.
Sir, this particular vessel has had a number of incidents. If so, and this proves to be another incident of going too fast as it approached, what kind of action can the Ntsb take in terms of putting it out of service?
The point made, the question is that this vessel has had other mishaps. We will be looking at any prior events associated with this vessel, and what authority does the Ntsb have? We are an accident investigation agency. We're not a regulatory agency. When we find things that we feel need to be corrected, we will issue recommendations to the appropriate authorities to act on those recommendations.
Who do you work with? Where are you at as far as
who do we work with?
other agencies?
We make our recommendations to anybody where the recommendations need to be made. We oftentimes in marine accidents make recommendations to the U.S. Coast Guard. We may make recommendations to the operator of the vessel. So we make recommendations to wherever those recommendations need to be directed towards.
Sir, do you know, generally speaking, what the safety record is for this kind of vessel in other parts of the country here? Whether it's there have been other problems, any other kind of systemic problems, friction problems?
So Ron has asked what the safety record is for ferry vessels in general, and we are here right now to collect information concerning this accident. If we notice that there are trends or problems that need to be corrected, we will address those. But right now, our focus is to collect the perishable evidence for this particular accident, and then begin moving forward.
Sir, Mr. Terrell is the chief investigator for this. What have you found so far?
Well, I'm the spokesperson, and I'll answer that. We are just beginning our investigation. I've told you everything that we know at this particular point. Sir. Yes, sir, you had a question.
The boat had been retrofitted about a year ago. Is that something that you guys would also be looking at?
The boat, you're saying the boat has been retrofitted. We're aware of that. We will be looking at that along with everything else to see what factors may be involved in this particular accident.
Can
you tell us exactly what happened to this one? Why there's that gash there?
You want to know why there's a gash there, and tomorrow we will be documenting the wreckage to measure it, look at the depth of it, and understand everything we can about that, so that we can then come up with a study to show the impact angles and things of that sort.
Excuse me, sir. Will the injured people will be interviewed? The injured 57 injured people will be.
When will the injured occupants be interviewed? We will be interviewing those that we feel. We will not interview all of the injured passengers. We'll interview those that we feel can give us information to shed additional light on our investigation.
Sir, is there an equivalent to an airplane's black box on one of these vessels? And if so, what's on it?
The question is, do vessels like this have black boxes like airplanes? And some do and some don't. This vessel is not required to have a voyage data recorder. It is not required to have one, and our information at this point is that it does not have a black box. However, I want to point out that this boat has a lot of sophisticated electronics, and even though those electronics may not be necessarily designed to capture information regarding a crash, sometimes there's non-volatile memory that can be retrieved that can help us figure out precisely the speed at the collision, the speed at the collision, and things of that sort.
How long will you be here tonight?
How long will we be here tonight? We're going to be leaving here shortly, and then going and conducting an organizational meeting tonight at 7 o'clock to get all of our parties together to lay out the investigative protocol, so that first thing tomorrow morning we can hit the ground running and start collecting that information that we're interested in collecting. I'll take 2 more questions.
Do people have to be seated when the boat approaches? And have you had any? Have you told those who are seriously injured or not seated?
Question is, do people have to be or required to be seated and for a landing in a dock? And that's part of exactly what we want to look at. We want to look and know how those injuries occurred, where the most injuries occurred. Did most of them occur from people who may have been standing? Those are the types of things that we intend to find out.
What are the regulations now?
What are the regulations? We will be looking into those regulations to see precisely what those recommendations are and find out if they were complied with. One more question.
Follow his question. I'm just wondering, that no more that it just for such a landing collision, like so many people are got injured. Is it no more accident, or is it?
I'm sorry, I can't hear the question.
Is it no more like just for a landing collision? There are so many people got injured, like even 57. Do you think it's no more accident? Is it a normal number she's asking? Is that a large number? The 57 people were just for like that a lot? Because they're landing. Assume the speed is also.
I think what you're asking is is that number that you mentioned, is that a reasonable number of people to be injured on a ferry boat accident? And I would say that no number of injuries would be reasonable. We want to find out why those injuries occurred, and that will be a part of our investigation. Were people standing when they should have been seated? What part of the vessel were they in when the collision occurred? Those are exactly the types of things that we will be looking at. And so we find sometimes that the way that tray tables, that tables might cause injuries on trains, for example, because people hit those. We want to look at anything that might have contributed to the injuries in this event. So Terry Williams is going to approach the microphone. He's going to be making a few announcements concerning how you can follow the progress of our investigation and future press conferences. Terry, come on up here.
We will be holding a press briefing tomorrow afternoon. We will make that announcement by press release, and you can also follow us on Twitter. I can also be reached at Terry, Terry.Williams@ntsb.gov, or at 202-557-1350. And we will be holding another press briefing tomorrow afternoon at this location. Thank you very much.